Tonight, breaking her silence, former FBI lawyer Lisa Page. So you remember her. She's the one who made headlines when her anti-Trump text messages were made public, and she is now speaking out. And she is detailing what it has been like to be a constant target of the president. So just in case you don't fully remember, right? The text between Page and former FBI agent Peter Strzok revealed that the two were having an affair. Okay, so they were talking about things in the investigation, and they were also having an affair. And so President Trump has seized upon that and obsessed about it.
Strzok or his lover, Lisa Page, the two great lovers. If you look at Strzok, if you look at his lover, Lisa Page, his wonderful lover.
Lisa Page, who was forced to leave the FBI, and her lover, Peter Strzok.
Phony people like McCabe and Strzok and his lover. You had Lisa Page, his lover.
Out front now, Molly Jong-Fast, the Daily Beast contributor who just interviewed Lisa Page. And look, she said nothing to anybody. So she chose to speak to you and talk about this. You know, today the president saw your story.
Yeah.
Okay. He slams Page, goes on Twitter, and the tweet begins when Lisa Page, the lover of Peter Strzok, right? More than 30 tweets. 30 tweets the president of the United States has sent about Lisa Page using that word. But she tells you it was this moment that made her choose to speak out now and decide to talk. Here's the moment of what he said.
I love you, Peter. I love you too, Lisa. Lisa, I love you. Lisa, Lisa. Oh, God, I love you, Lisa. And if she doesn't win, Lisa, we've got an insurance policy, Lisa.
That was the moment, and that was in October when she said, enough is enough.
Yeah, I actually talked to her about 2 weeks after that. And so part of it was that she couldn't defend herself when she was working at the FBI. And so these texts were leaked by the FBI, by the DOJ. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of reporting about it, and there's been FOIAs, and you can read all of the whole story. Natasha Bertrand wrote about it. Yep. But what's interesting is then she couldn't talk, and the FBI didn't defend her. Like they made it clear they weren't going to put out a statement, and so she was sort of in the wind for like 2 years. And finally, I sort of found her, and I messaged with her a lot, and I wrote to her and I said, you know, I've written a lot about women's plight under Trump, and I've interviewed E. Jean Carroll and other women who have had this experience, and I really think that I could show the human side of what it's like to be targeted by the President of the United States.
And I want to be clear when you say, I mean, the DOJ Inspector General concluded that the text messages between Page and Strzok were inappropriate, right?
Yeah.
They said, look, this is inappropriate stuff, and this but is really important. Every American should know about it. They also concluded there was no bias in the agent's work, okay? So they're texting things personally, but professionally there was no evidence of any bias. And Page was not afraid her texts were political. Here's what she told you, okay? So this is your interview with her.
Yeah.
At the end of July in 2017, I'm informed by the DOJ Inspector General's office that I'm under investigation for political text messages. And honestly, I have no idea what they're talking about. I have no recollection. Initially, they're very coy about it. They don't tell me much about it. I don't have the first clue what they're talking about. What I do know is that my text messages will reveal that I previously had an affair. Yeah. I'm overwhelmed by dread and embarrassment at the prospect that investigators, Andy McCabe, and my colleagues now know or could learn about this deeply personal secret. And she told you, inspectors told her, that the affair part of this would not ever be made public, and yet it was.
Yeah, that's right. And it was a Washington Post reporter who was told about the affair. We don't know how he got the story. And she begged him not to say anything. And it was a really, I mean, I think this woman has been through 2 years of like the worst hell imaginable.
And look, you know, people make decisions. As I say, people make mistakes. She had an affair. Yeah. It's a personal thing and a personal issue. She writes though about how now, you know, when she gets on the metro, the subway in Washington, she winces, wondering if people recognize her. If she sees someone wearing a Trump gear or MAGA hat, she walks the other way to put distance between us because I'm not looking for conflict. Yeah. What I wanted the most in this world, she tells you, is my life back. And I think this is an important point that people may want to know about, that you found out. She's married to her husband, and he has been her biggest supporter.
Yeah, she was taking a trip, and she was like, you can text my husband. And I was like, wow. I mean, they're still together, and they have little children, and she just wants to have a life. And I don't think she ever would have done an interview if done that thing in that Minnesota rally.
Right, that disgusting.
Yeah.
Obviously, they don't need to describe what it was that he was doing, but yes. So look, you do this story. The president responds to it,
Right.
Molly, and then Fox News criticizes you for the entire interview. Let me just play for you what they said.
Page says the first course, of course, the FBI gets the predication to look into Trump by George Papadopoulos, which starts the whole Russia investigation, which goes back to the biggest questions people have. Who was talking to George Papadopoulos? Where is this professor that started this whole thing? Where's the ambassador that meets him by chance in a bar? This goes back into it, and there's no follow-up question from the Daily Beast reporter.
You are that reporter, and you are not standing down from that fight.
Yeah, I mean, to have my journalistic ethics questioned by the president's propaganda morning show is pretty amazing. I'm, I'll go on, man. I mean, it's a show for an audience of one. So I don't think that, and the idea that I should ask her about these conspiracy theories that we know from Fiona Hill have been completely debunked, but that the Republican Party has continued to use as talking points is just really silly. I mean, I'm honored that they read so much of it. I was shocked that they did. And, like when Trump tweeted about it, I don't think he read it. But no, have my journalistic ethics questioned by those guys is pretty hilarious.
It's a really great article, and it's fascinating just to hear her speak. And I think on a human level, and again, I say in the context that they concluded, the inspector, that she did nothing wrong professionally, that her personal life has been so demeaned and publicized in such a crass way by the president so repeatedly. I think a lot of us are so fascinated to see what she had to say. Thank you so much, Molly.
Thank you.